Well, hello everyone. My name's Tim, and I'm just a new owner of a Elegoo Phecta 20 watt version unit, which is upside down on the floor there. And today I would like to talk about the Elegoo limit switch and the story behind this. And some people were riding me a bit hard, I think, because I was making some suggestions. Maybe I didn't say it quite so craftily when I was making some comments on the version 1 of the Elegoo limit switch kit. And what the camera around here, and I'm going to show you what I found online. And what people were writing me was that some people take time out of their days to write these manuals and all that kind of stuff and aid people, which I do with the 3D print community and audio, vintage audio community, because I restore old hi-fi gear and stereo gear and all that stuff. So I do a lot of technical videos showing people how to fix things and stuff. And then I also do 3D modeling for my 3D printers for audio gear, like this 3D printed head shell on this Thorn's turntable that I have here. So I modeled that and made them available online for free. So I understand what it is to offer your services for free and not expect remuneration for the work you do. It's just something you do for fun, and that's likewise. So I got into, I've been 3D printing, so there's a resin printer, it's a new one I just got, so I'm just unpacking that, and then I've got a couple of 3D printers in the house here, one back in my furnace room over there. And I thought, well, I'd like to dabble a little bit in laser craft, because I like to do basically restorations and modifications to old stereo gear and make it look nice. And oftentimes you have to relabel small buttons and stuff like that, and face plates like you see on this receiver I rebuilt over there. So this would come in handy, I think, for doing face plates and whatnot. So anyway, I went on to this website over here, which is, or not website, Facebook group. And lo and behold, there's actually two Elegoo Phecta laser engraver. There's the unofficial group, which you can see here has a total of 498 members. Didn't look at that at first. And I was wondering why is this Elegoo Phecta laser engraver site not showing some of my stuff? And then I realized, well, there's two of them. And then there's the main one, which is the main owners group, which has 2.6K or 2.6 thousand members. So different scales on there of membership, but neither here nor there. They're all people that are interested in making these things better and sharing their knowledge, which is a great thing. So I went online and on this 2.6K member group, there's a section over here called Files. So I went to Files, and then I was looking, because knowing 3D printers having limit switches, X and Y limit switches, I work with them quite a bit. I've modified quite a few of my printers. And I was sort of thinking to myself, well, why does this thing, after the first time it crashed, the barrier crashed into the back of the rack assembly there, I said, well, there's got to be a way of limit switching this thing so you don't have all these crashes, so you can signal it to stop and not keep whamming into the back of the printer. And that was actually in standalone mode. I was just running it off of not USB, but off of or Lightburn. I was using Lightburn to generate the files, and then I would just put it on a SD card, and then or TF card, whatever you want to call it, and then micro SD, and then print them in standalone mode, which I did. You know, I've got some prints. I'm a day in, so I'm still really mucking with the thing and getting some settings. But then I had that little crash incident, and I started exploring online and came across this Elegoo Phecta limit switch kit V1. And I figured, well, 2.6 thousand people, they would have the latest and greatest files here. So I downloaded that kit, and here is the instruction set for that. So what, and of course everybody, I made some commentary about how terrible this manual is, and it's terrible. It really is. If you're using this and buying the hardware that they recommend, I mean, that was a good drawing and you had a link and all that stuff. But then when you get into the actual how to route it and how this cross wiring occurred and all that sort of stuff, it really, and then going in and after doing what I thought was a decent setup, in retrospect, I now know that I've got this on the wrong side here. This should be on this side. But it should still work. I mean, it's that will come in and crash the switch and then shut it off, but that wasn't working. And it says to dumb it down to 2 wires and then have it plugged into the main board, and then of course routing over here. I've just moved this to snug up that. And again, a 2-wire configuration with 1 wire crossed to the middle wire. Here you got the 2 wires on the outside of this connector, and then if you look on the other side, what it shows in this diagram over here on version 1, and of course this is a 2 limit switch diagram, which is kind of senseless because there's 4 crash points on a basically a laser cutter engraver. So here you see they have they tell you to go to this website and learn how to pull these pins out, and then what you're supposed to do is cross connect pin 3 to pin 2 and pull out the 3rd wire, and then you go in and set it up, which I thought I had set it up correctly, but again, you don't know which end goes where, as I mentioned in my previous video, which is online here on this site or this group. And then of course I went and did all these settings for light burn, and the switches aren't working. So then of course I was getting some crashing, and I would just power it off and try to figure it out from there. So that's when I realized, well, quite honestly, it's wired wrong, and I figured that out. But I also figured out why they don't have a lot of detail, because basically, if you look at this, it's dated October 2023, and it's version 1.0. Well, I go over to this, when I made my comments, a bunch of people suggested that I go over to this site called Geeks at Large. And they are actually a business, so they're in the business of selling these kits for $30 a piece. Of course, they're back ordered 3 to 5 weeks. And I'm looking at the diagrams, and then they have an actual section here that says go to the manual. And then of course I go to the manual, and there it is. The exact same manual that's posted on the Elegoo site, exactly the same configuration. So this is not some guy taking his time out and making a cute little manual for everybody to follow, because this one is unfollowable. And they're both dated the same month, October 2023, and this is version 1, that's version 1.4. So obviously they had probably initially came out with a 2 limit switch setup, which is, to me, I guess it is senseless. And then they came out with this 4 limit switch arrangement. But you go into this one, and there's no detail where you saw this version 1, where you actually are supposed to rewire the wires that came with the limit switches, which are the ones I got from the site, by the way. And they're actually listed. Well, they're not listed here because these guys are trying to sell this thing at $30 when you can buy these limit switches for a quarter of that. Anyway, so I got 6 limit switches, and I did on the site on version 1 and on this 2.6 thousand person site, they actually include the models here, the 3D models. And of course I've got a 3D printer. So I printed out the front Y limit and the left X limit, but it was a 2 version. That's a 2 limit switch version, and that's what they came with, or what they gave you with that model and that instruction set. What they didn't tell you was you need another model for the rear Y limit and the right X limit. And looking at the wires, you can't tell by the bundles there. You can tell that there's actually a splice in there because basically I think at the rear Y and the right X limit, they or one of the two limits, they actually show that the wiring is spliced together, and basically it passes through. So that's the long Y, the front Y limit switch. And you can see here that's only got, and they all have the 3 wires, and it doesn't look like from the drawings, although you can't really tell what the wire pinout association is. So I'm now still stuck with how do I wire these limit switches that I've got, and I need the extra 3D models, which I might be able to find on Thingiverse or some of the other 3D sites out there. So, so I've got this one, I've made that one, which you can see here, right there. And then this one's on the wrong side, and I'm sure everybody's going to quickly point that out. It should be on this side, according to this new drawing that I see, where it shows you all 4 limit switches. And see, there you go, X1, X2 on the x-axis, and then Y1 and Y2. This is also obviously on the sliding assembly that carries the laser carriage, basically. And then the Ys are fixed on the outer frame of the cutter engraver. So those are, I'm kind of saying, well, here I am critiquing a business who doesn't want to give out the information for people that want to DIY this themselves. Somebody did, I guess, maybe sort of overwrote an earlier version of their manual, because if you look at the manual, they're identical. I mean, they're configured. They go part 2, step 2, and all that stuff. All of the font and everything is identical, except for this version 1 is for a 2-axis limit switch, and this is for a 4-axis limit switch over here. So you can see that I think we've been duped a little bit. So if anybody has the wiring configuration of that harness that's supposed to go share the X and the Y on the motherboard or the main board, and then the routing configuration, which I can kind of see on the diagram here, because you can see where the diagram, you can actually see where they have the interconnect. So you got the wire that comes from the main board over here for the x-axis. It comes to this side of the carriage and then links to that side. So there's going to be a two-way link at the X1 position. And same idea with the short Y1. You're going to have a wire coming in there, and it's probably just a splice and a pass-through. But what I need to know is there a cross connect, like they say in this earlier diagram with the wiring harness, where the one, it actually shows how you should wire it, where you have pin 3 going to pin 2. When you receive them, pin 3 goes to pin 3. You have to pull the pin out and pop it in, and they actually show you a video online if you follow that link on how to do that. So that's, I think, why my limit switches weren't working at all, and why it was crashing on the one side. So there you have it. Can help if anybody's got the models for those other two limit switch holders. I would love to be able to print those out and just to reaffirm how the wiring configuration is for that X and Y harnesses, switch harnesses are. So thank you for watching. It's a very complicated one, but I think I got to the bottom of it. Got to the bottom of this one. So thank you very much.